Hey there, welcome back to another video. This time it is part 2 of my novelization collection. This is a video that honestly I've been wanting to do for a while now. I just didn't really get around to doing it yet because I had all this other stuff planned, and also it is kind of a pain in the ass to get my novelizations out of my closet because they're in these totes and they're stacked on top of each other and they're really heavy. So what I actually decided to do for this part is I just took all of the books out of one of the totes, and I'm just going to show that to you in this particular video. And then there will be one more part, or maybe another one after that, of just random stuff, miscellaneous sort of tie-ins and things like that, like my Indiana Jones original novels and stuff like that that were inspired by the movie. I want to let you guys know right off the bat that this particular installment is going to be kind of a mixed bag, so to speak, because there's a few books in here that are not really novelizations. They're just fiction novels that I didn't have anywhere else to put, so I put them in the totes mixed in with novelizations. So just wanted to let you all know that, so you're not like, wait a second, that's not a novelization. But I probably will just go through those pretty quickly. But most of it, the majority of the books that I'm showing you in this part are novelizations. Trust me, okay? Majority of them are. Just wanted to let you know what was up, so to speak. So let's get started, shall we? We can start out right off the bat with, why not? I mean, perfect start. RoboCop by Ed Naha. This is the one that has the cover art that I like the best because it's the original poster art. There's one that's out there that has like a red cover with like some weird looking cover art, like a picture of RoboCop and like some weird font. This is the way to go. I've had this for a while, and I can't remember exactly where I found this. Oh yeah, it says exactly where I found it. I found it at the book box in Tigard. So really big fan of this book. I'm a huge fan of the movie, so I mean, yeah, Ed Naha did a good job writing the novel for RoboCop. Then we have, why not, RoboCop 2, also by Ed Naha, which is another another job well done by Ed. Yeah, this one, whoa. I've read this one too many times because it's getting to that point where you can see right there it's starting to get kind of worn. I'm going to be on the lookout for another copy of this because this looks like if I read it anymore, it's going to split in half. So yeah, there's RoboCop and RoboCop 2. Here we have Resident Evil Genesis, which is a stupid way to resell the novelization of Resident Evil. They're just call it Resident Evil Genesis, but no, it's just a novelization of the first movie. That's really what it is, by Keith R. A. DiCandido. Da Candio, or whatever. V for Vendetta. And Amityville 3D, the only Amityville film that has a novelization based on a screenplay, is Amityville 3D, and it was a UK release. So, yeah, this is by Richard McGill. It's alright. It's an okay read. Then we have some spin-off stuff. Superman, the Last Son of Krypton, which is a spin-off of Superman the movie, which has some really nice, cool black and white photos of Superman in there from Superman the movie in 1978. Then I'll just show these all in a row. These are the Darkman spin-offs, the Darkman original novels. There's 4 of them. There's The Hangman is the first one. Price of Death, 3, 4, okay. These are all from Pocket Books, and before there was a Darkman comic series by Marvel, there was these Pocket Books. Now, forgive me for some of the damages and some of the stuff on these. I was an idiot, and I had these laying out somewhere, and I, spilled, some soda or something, and I cleaned it up, but And the pages are fine, but the covers are a bit sticky, and there's some kind of worn damage on them. But these are actually really cool, especially if you're a fan of Darkman, like I am. These can play out as a sequel to the first film, but in a lot of ways, they're actually a little bit better than the actual sequels. So this is The Hangman. This is book 1 by Randall Boyle, who also wrote the novelization of Darkman. And here's book 2, The Price of Fear. And apparently the price of, what is it? Also some kind of hair or cat hair or something? Was that stuck on that? Yeah. The Price of Hair. And The Price of Fear. The Gods of Hell. They are all by Randall Boyle. And In the Face of Death, the fourth and final novel. So yeah, they're pretty good reads. I'd recommend them. Check them out. If you're a fan of the film, if you're a fan of the character, get your hands on these Darkman novels. These are the only ones I think that are out there. Is just these 4, other than the novelization of the film. Here we have, it's a series, it's an installment in a series called the Matador series by Steve Perry. This is the albino knife. I actually thought that was, I like Steve Perry as an author, and I like this series, the Matador series, so that's why I have that. Here's a edition of Stephen King's Night Shift that is a tie-in to Children of the Corn, which it has the short story Children of the Corn in it, and it also has photos from the film. So this is still this is technically a tie-in. I mean, it has photos from the movie in it, so it's definitely some kind of tie-in to the film, but it's not a true novelization. It's a tie-in. But Night Shift is a great collection of stories, so this is a nice little bonus to have the Night Shift collection in with this really iconic, cool cover art, and with some nice pictures from the film in there. So that's Children of the Corn. It's the only tie-in that exists for that, if I remember correctly. Species, a well-worn, if I can say that fucking word, a well-worn copy of Species, and also a copy of Species 2, the novelization for that film. It's not really that much of a better read than it is a watch. It's still a pretty shitty film, whether you read it or watch it. AVP, speaking of shitty films, Assholes vs. Penises, the novelization, which actually I read before I saw the movie, and the movie was disappointing because I remember this book actually being pretty decent. So, yeah, but I haven't read it in a long time, but I remember it being kind of decent, and I think there was a lot of gore and violence that's in this book that's not in the movie. But once again, it's been a long time since I've read it, so I might be completely wrong. Santa Claus the Movie by Joan DeVinge. I believe also wrote... No, Yvonne Navarro wrote all the Species novels. Yvonne DeVinge has written some other stuff. Roten's not even a word. It's the name of a basketball player, I think. Tony Roten? I think that's his name. There's your randomness for the video. It's Tony Roten. The novelization for Last Action Hero by Robert Tyne. Here we have another spin-off title. The Amityville Horror 2, The Terror Continues. No, it's not. It has no connection whatsoever to The Possession. I wish there was a novelization of The Possession, because The Possession is the best film in the series. Saving Private Ryan by Max Allan Collins. Breaking Away by Joseph Howard, based on the screenplay for the film Breaking Away, which has a great cast. Daniel Stern, Dennis Christopher, Dennis Quaid, among others. Wolfman by Jonathan Mayberry. It's one of those weird... I don't know what's up with these. These just strange tie-in books that are like stretched out. Who started doing this shit? This is just weird and unnecessary. And it just... I hate it. I hate these. I hate this fucking style of paperback. I hate it because You can't fit it on your normal shelves with all your other paperbacks because it's way too fucking tall and it looks stupid. Who want to beat the person who's decided this is a good idea over the head with this fucking stupid rectangular whatever cover art or structure of this book? It fucking sucks, and the movie's not very good either, so that doesn't really help. I don't think I've read that yet though. Last the last Boy Scout novelization. Sorry, excuse me. It's pretty hot today. It's pretty hot outside, so forgive me for any of my mental transgressions or problems here, because the heat is just baking me right now and kind of frying some brain cells. But anyway, this is the novelization for The Last Boy Scout. This is a pretty good read. Great film too. Check it out. It's definitely worth it. Here we have Predator 2, which, unlike the novelization for Predator, is actually a lot closer to the film, which is a good thing, because the novelization for Predator is not even, I don't even think it's based on a revised draft of the script, so it's one of the earlier scripts, and wow, it is awful, especially the last half. This, though, is a lot closer to it. And you get to see some POVs of the Predator, which I thought was interesting. So there's some POV and shots of the Predator, as well as you get a look inside the Predator's mind in certain sequences, which is really cool. There's another sequel, Gremlins 2, The New Batch. Speaking of that, here's Gremlins by George Gipe, who also wrote the novelization for Back to the Future. Here's Young Frankenstein by Gilbert Perlman. I can't speak today for some reason. It's just too many novelizations, and it's just there's so many novelizations. I can't function. Videodrome by Jack Martin. Great read, great movie. A paperback copy of Wired by Bob Woodward. This book is a lot better than the movie. Okay, the movie is not very good, but the book is actually pretty interesting and pretty well written, and was a New York Times bestseller for a reason. There's another fiction sci-fi movie. Sci-fi, not movie, but it could be. Sci-fi book, Cyber Stealth by S.N. Lewitt. Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves. Dante's Peak. Steven Spielberg's 1941. Here we have a Walt Disney film called Condor Man. Condor Man! Also has some pictures. It's a fairly unknown Disney film. I honestly really only knew about this and probably only got this because my stepdad is a big fan of this movie. So, yeah. Still pretty good. It's a pretty nice collector's item. This Condor Man novelization by Disney. Convoy. Red Planet. And still not done. I got 3 more stacks over here, so there's still plenty more novelizations to come in this video. Spawn. Constantine by John Shirley, which I recommend that one, especially if you're a fan of the movie. A horror novel called Nelfs, which I believe is sent to me by Travis. The Abyss by Orson Scott Card. Phenomenal read. Great book. Great movie. if you're at all a fan of The Abyss, pick this up and read it. Adds even more character development to the characters. It's just such a cool book. And there's some interesting things in this one. Like it shows you like a schematic of what the shack looks like. So I thought it was pretty cool. Great book though. Really, really good. And Orchard Scott Card didn't really do a lot of novelizations, so that was a special occasion for him. The Keep by F. Paul Wilson. The movie is a lot different than the book. Die Hard with a Vengeance. This is the only Die Hard film that has a novelization. The other ones out there are just reprints of the books that inspired the films, like Die Hard 2 with Fair Game and Nothing Lasts Forever with the first film. Here's my water-damaged copy of Waterworld. I have it because it's water damaged and I think it's hilarious. It's you can still read it, and it's honestly, I think it's honestly kind of pretty cool. It's a novelization of Waterworld, and it's water damaged. It's like it came from Waterworld. Beverly Hills Cop 2. There's only one novelization for the Beverly Hills Cop franchise, and it is of this movie. That's it. There's just two. There's no novelization for the first film. There's no novelization for the third one. It's just the second one. Just like it's just another 48 hours for the 48 Hours films for some reason. Remo, The Adventure Begins, which I read long before I saw the movie, and I thought it was a really fun read. It's got some nice black and white photos in it. It's a good pickup for fans of the movie. I would definitely have to say that. For sure. There's a good amount of fun to be had with this. By Richard Sapir. Clint Eastwood, Dirty Harry novelization of The Enforcer. Blue Chips. Gone in 60 Seconds. Chain Reaction. Omen 3, The Final Conflict. Shitty film, but for the collection, sure. And it's so shitty I smacked my microphone. Sorry about that. I felt I had the urge to just smack this film, so I smacked my microphone with it instinctively. The Omen by David Seltzer. I think I have the sequel as well, Omen 2. Cybernetic Jungle, another sci-fi novel by the guy who did Cyber Stealth, S.N. Lewitt. Mission Impossible. Carnosaur. And I don't believe the book. Yeah, the book doesn't end the same way as the movie. Actually, I thought the book was actually better than the movie. It actually surprised me, because I thought the movie sucked. I read the book that it's loosely based on. I'm like, why didn't they follow the book more? Because this is actually a little bit better. Actually, a lot better, surprisingly. The Mechanic. Charles Bronson. The Sting. The Mask, Jim Carrey. Star Trek Generations. Pretty weak movie, fairly weak novelization. And like an extremely like, I don't know, like this copy is weird because it's like extremely hard to open. I don't know why. It's strange why it's such a hard to read copy of it. Every Which Way But Loose novelization of the film. For the Clint Eastwood novelization collection. Another Matador novel in the Matador series by Steve Perry, The Machiavelli Interface. Dead and Buried by Chelsea Quinn Yarbough. Great. I thought it was a really great book. I liked the movie too, so I think I read the book before I saw the movie. It was a good read. I liked the film too. Karate Kid. Another book in the Matador series. I think this might be the first one. The Man Who Never Missed. Steve Perry. Patrick. One of those older novels that has the red pages. Three Ninjas Kick Back. Not the best film. Didn't hold up that well. Got some color photos. I think Three Ninjas had the first film has like a juvenile tie-in, but this one actually is pretty extensive for a kids movie. I mean, it's over 200 pages, which if you've seen the film, it's kind of surprising that there's even enough content there for over 200 pages. The Brood, just as an unsettling read as it is a watch. Yeah, it's a good one. I think it was also this is only released in the UK, but it's a good book to get if you're a fan of the film and of the work of Cronenberg. The Seduction with Morgan Fairchild. It even comes with pictures. This is one of those that's like, this wasn't even really that big of a movie, and it got a novelization. Probably because Morgan Fairchild was a hot commodity back then. Novelization for Star Trek 6. For some reason, I just can't speak. I apologize. Star Trek 6, The Undiscovered Country, which is a really nice way for the original cast to go off. They went off with a bang. What the fuck? I don't know. It's just it must be it's fucking heat. It's fucking heat. It's just so many novelizations. That's part of it too. I mean, this is really kind of overwhelming because going through all this is making me understand how many of these I really have, and it's a considerable amount. War Games by David Bischoff. Star Trek V, The Final Frontier. Willow, which is actually, this is a really good read, especially if you're a fan of the film. Some nice color photographs in it as well. And the same author, Wayland Drew, I think either he or she, I think it's she, they did a spin-off series that were sort of sequels to Willow that I'm curious about. Either it was Wayland Drew or somebody who was related to Wayland who did it. But I know there's some like Willow sequels in book form. Of Unknown Origin, which is the tie-in to the film Of Unknown Origin with Peter Weller. Now, this is originally titled The Visitor, so this is just a reprint of the novel The Visitor that Of Unknown Origin is loosely based on. That's just kind of a hard word for me to say anyway. I mean, try saying that 7 times fast, you know. Of Unknown Origin. Of unknown. Some nice black and white photos of Peter Weller. Great film, too. See it if you haven't already. Definitely check this one out. Excuse me for all this sort of bending over and leaning over and grabbing stuff and My nose running a little bit. Allergies are starting to kind of act up a little bit today. Jaws 2 by Hank Searles. I believe it's Hank Searles. No, Howard Sacker. Yeah, Hank Searles did do this. Howard Sacker and Dorothy Tristan did the script for Jaws 2. There's no novelization for Jaws 3, but there is one for Jaws the Revenge. And this is a hilarious read. This novelization gives an explanation as to why the shark was able to follow Brody's wife all the way around to the Caribbean, and it's hilarious. It's a hilarious explanation. The explanation is that the shark had some voodoo curse put on it. So, voodoo shark. Some Sci-Fi Channel original movie bullshit right there. An Officer and a Gentleman. It Lives Again. There's no novelization for It's Alive 3, but there is one for the first one. Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan. Short but sweet novel. Blade Trinity. I don't understand why this film has over 400 pages for a novel. Of all the things, Blade Trinity, but this publication company, Black Flame, was notorious for that. The novelization for Jason X is way too long. I don't get it. Why are they this long? Is that some kind of special clause in the contract for Black Flame Publications? Every novelization needs to be over 400 pages long. So this doesn't make much sense. Star Trek IV, The Voyage Home. Star Trek The Motion Picture, which is actually written by Gene Roddenberry. And he did a pretty good job writing the novel. Tales from the Crypt, Demon Knight. There is no novelization for Bordello of Blood, which is too bad that there's no novelization for Bordello of Blood, but there's still one for Demon Knight, which is cool. There's no pictures in this either, which is a little bit disappointing. But it's still a novelization for A Tales from the Crypt franchise, and it's by Randall Boyle, who wrote the novelization for Darkman. I think he also did the one for Shocker. One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, which is just a reprint of the Jack Nicholson film with, reprint of the book based on the book that the Jack Nicholson film is based on. Fuck me, I'm off today. Sorry, apologize. Twilight Zone the movie, which says it's a special edition, but I don't know why. There's nothing about this that is at all special. There's no extra stuff in it. There's no picture. Well, there is some pictures, so maybe that's why it's a special edition. But I still don't. I still find it kind of strange that a novelization says special edition. Like that's something that you rarely ever see. But maybe it's because it has pictures. But most of the novelizations around this time had pictures anyway, so I don't understand why it's so special. I still don't. Invasion USA. So that's a pretty awesome cover art. And this one surprised me. I was like, there's a novelization for Invasion USA? I saw this in the wild. I was like, what? And then, yeah, there is. It's a pretty fun read. Final Countdown. Predator. Great cover art. Not that great of a book. I'm not blaming Paul Monette, the writer. I'm blaming the script by James E. Thomas and John C. Thomas, because this is an early draft, and the first half of the novel pretty much follows the film really closely, but the last half doesn't at all, and it's bad. You could tell that it was a script that needed a rewrite really badly. And the alien isn't the one that's you see in the film. The Predator isn't described the same way. Yeah, it's interesting to read though, because it's It's a way for you to access one of the early drafts without reading the screenplay and reading it in a way that's less dry as a script. But yeah, I mean, for something called Predator, it's not really anything like the movie for the most part, except for the first half. Once the Predator starts showing up and hunting people, it's nothing like the movie. Another novel by Steve Perry, The Omega Cage. Novelization for The Karate Kid Part 2. Novelization for Robot Jocks. Yeah, there's a novelization for this. No, surprising. By Robert Thurston. I remember when I found this. I found it in the juvenile section, like the section for young teens, young adults at a thrift store. So that was interesting. Normally I don't find novelizations in there. And I've never seen it anywhere since. Scarface. Sylvester Stallone, a little mini unauthorized biography that has some fun pictures in it. This is like this is a really, like, I think a mid-80s type thing. Like, this is not really around around the time of Rocky 4, not Rocky 5, thankfully. There's some nice info in here. Some nice pictures of Stallone. Stallone hasn't done an autobiography yet. I really, Schwarzenegger's done one. I think he's done a couple. And Stallone hasn't done a single one yet. And that's honestly kind of disappointing. It would be nice to see him. I would read it. I'm pretty sure his autobiography would be fantastic, knowing how great of a writer he is. But for some reason, he just doesn't seem to want to do that. Yeah, this is from like 86. Still a nice thing to have for the Stallone, if you're a fan of Stallone. It admittedly, though, it's dated, and it'd be nice to see Stallone write an autobiography of himself. Assassins. Speaking of Stallone, there's a novelization of Assassins by Robert Tyne, who has written a ton of novelizations. Robert Tyne has done a lot. Here is another Matador novel. Matadora. Steve Perry. Here we have The Legacy, based on the screenplay by Jimmy Sangster. So this is actually a novelization of the film. This cover art is just hilarious. I really do feel it's just absolutely hilarious. It's supposed to be scary, but it isn't. It just isn't scary. It's just ridiculous. Deadly Eyes, which is a tie-in to the film Deadly Eyes. It even has black and white photos in it. Signet did this a lot. Didn't matter what film it was. Oh, and then there you get some nice up closes of the shitty looking rats. That's hilarious. Because the film was based on a novel by James Herbert called The Rats. And of course the movie changed a lot of stuff. Speaking of movies that changed a lot of stuff, Dungeons and Dragons is the novelization of the Dungeons and Dragons movie. Yep, I told you I had Damien Omen 2, and there it is. Damien Omen 2. This also has some black and white photos. We're almost done, actually, for this particular part. Here we have Dress to Kill. This is a weird looking novelization. Like, for some reason, there's some printing errors, and everything's kind of off kilter here. And Brian De Palma actually did write part of it, which is interesting. There's no photographs in this or anything, but it's a nice thing to have, especially if you're a fan of the movie Dress to Kill. Deer Hunter. Cocoon by David Saperstein. I don't know if The Return had a novelization or not. I don't think it did. The River with Mel Gibson and Sissy Spacek. Black Rain by Mike Cogan, the same guy who wrote the novelization for Top Gun. Pretty awesome cover. I personally feel that way. Good movie, too. Pretty awesome film as well. X-Men, novelization of the first movie. Pitch Black. There's a Chronicles of Riddick one, too. I think I have that as well. Might have already shown that, or it might not. It might be in a different box. The Alamo. And yes, Catwoman. I didn't pay a high price for this or anything, so I think I read it too. It's terrible. So this got a novelization. Catwoman. Yeah. Don't understand why either, but yeah, I got a novelization. X-Files Fight the Future. And to end it all, Bram Stoker's Dracula. And as you can see, yes, this is falling apart. And I did my own sort of fix job with with these pictures and had to tape them in. I found this at a yard sale years ago, and this is a well-worn copy. I would like to get another one because it's a pretty good read. It's a pretty good book. And I love this film. And the 25th anniversary is coming up pretty soon for this one. This November. And so I'd like to get another copy of the novelization. And I have the other tie-in book for it, for the film, which has the script and a few other things. But anyway, that's it. That is it for part 2 of my novelization collection, with a few other miscellaneous books thrown in there as well. I hope you guys enjoyed it. And as always, I will see you guys later. See ya.